Hello everyone, today is 3rd of April, now it's 9:30 in the morning Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for a day in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. There are quite a few very significant developments and news that I'd like to share with you for this moment, and I will start with a short summary of the situation on Ukrainian battlefield. According to reports from Russian media and Russian military channels, Russian armed forces conducted successful local-scale offensive operations on several directions. For example, in South Donetsk sector, Russian forces conducted some pincer offensive in Novomykhailovka area and further improved positions in this settlement. And I guess Ukrainian armed forces in next several days will have no other option but to flee in western parts of this settlement. Also, Russian armed forces conducted successful offensive operation in Pervomayskaya area, which is of course southern flank of Avdiivka direction, and according to several reports, almost entire settlement now is under Russian control. And surprisingly, somewhat surprisingly, according to several channels, Russian armed forces already established control over the Semyonovka and the Berdichi. This is of course a northern flank of Avdiivka sector. We need some additional information, confirmation of Russian progress in Semyonovka and Berdichi directions, but well, information is and this map, by the way, if you can see here, this map basically is also confirming that line of contact, which is this white dots here, have moved beyond both these settlements, Semyonovka and Berdichi. And same time, Russian armed forces continue offensive operations in direction of Umanskaya. Yesterday, Ukrainian forces tried to conduct some local-scale counteroffensive and push Russian forces back from Umanskaya, but this Ukrainian offensive, during the which several infantry fighting vehicles were used by Kyiv regime forces, including Bradleys. This local-scale counteroffensive failed, and the Russian armed forces destroyed at least 2 Ukrainian Bradley infantry fighting vehicles and forced Ukrainian military personnel back from this area. I guess in next several days we will see beginning of the military operations inside Umanskaya itself, which is not really big village, but terrain is, as you can see here, is quite a difficult one, and therefore battles for Umanskaya may take some time. But in any case, we clearly can observe that Ukrainian defense lines are collapsing, especially in Avdiivka direction, despite deployment of basically last strategic reserves that Kyiv regime has left. They were unable to stabilize front line on Avdiivka sector. Also, Russian armed forces further increasing pressure on Chisovyar direction, by the way, and according to reports from several Russian military channels, Russian units are now some 400 to 500 meters away from Chisovyar, this canal district of the Chisovyar. If that's the case, then I guess Russian forces managed to establish control over this tree line here on the eastern side of Chisovyar, and maybe Russian forces already are in this forestry also, and possibly in Dachi areas here in this salient in forestry. But when it comes to this district of the Chisovyar, canal district, I call it canal district because of the high-rise apartments in this area, industrial zone. Most likely battle will take some time, although several military experts are predicting quick collapse of Ukrainian defense lines in Chisovyar direction, because according to several, yet again, Russian military experts, Kyiv regime was unable to prepare more or less capable defense lines in Chisovyar area, and what is most important, morale of the Ukrainian armed forces are too low, and there many Ukrainian soldiers are no longer willing to fight and die for Zelensky and Zelensky's regime. In any case, significant developments. Chisovia definitely will become next hotspot on the map in upcoming weeks. And when it comes to northern sectors of the front line, Russian armed forces gradually continuing increasing pressure on Seversk direction. Main hotspots here are, of course, Razdolovka, Fyodorovka directions on the southern flank of Seversk city. And when it comes to northern eastern side, main hotspot is still Belogorovka settlement. Russian armed forces conducted successful local-scale offensive operations in this area yesterday on the southern side of Belogorovka, but yet again, because of the difficult terrain in this area, clashes for Belogorovka are taking place for quite a long time now, for at least several months. And when it comes to Kupiansk direction, there was no reports about any significant changes on line of contact. Main hotspot is still Sinkovka settlement, and of course Terny, which is on the left bank of the Zheribets river, and Russian armed forces are just couple of 100 meters away from Terny and from Yampolovka. Although, by the way, for whatever reason, Terny settlement, as you can see, these two villages are side by side, basically. Both are on the left bank of the Zheribets river. And Terny is a part of Kupiansk sector of the front line, and Yampolovka is Krasny Liman sector of the front line. And both villages, in my understanding, are used by Russian forces as a kind of trap. And for quite a while, and quite successfully. Also, several military channels were expecting Russian advances towards these settlements and clashes inside the villages. But I was skeptical of these predictions, because I see great potential here to use these settlements because of the terrain once again. To use these settlements as a trap, and it seems to me that Russian armed forces is doing exactly that. They are using both these settlements as a trap, because to resupply and send reinforcements, Kyiv regime have to cross this open area on the right bank of the Zheribets river, and then cross bridges on the river itself. So it's a wide area, open terrain, which allows Russian long-range artillery to conduct successful strikes during that regrouping and reinforcement process. So this is it when it comes to short summary of the situation on Ukrainian battlefield. Main news, I will say, is possible establishment of control over the Berdichi, as I said, on Avdiivka sector of the front line. Berdichi and Semyonovka, these two settlements, but yet again, without video or photo confirmation, it's difficult to say if this is the case, but most likely it is. Most likely it is. That's been said. I remind you, dear friends, that my channel is about news in general. I don't have a military channel, and therefore, if you are interested in more detailed analysis of the situation on the line of contact on daily basis, I recommend military channels for that. And if you are not familiar with the military channels, then under this video in description box I have a recommendation list of the channels that I follow, and among them you can find links to the military channels also, including Military Summary, which is one of the biggest military and most popular military channels right now on YouTube. And well, that's been said, let's continue with some additional news. And RT is reporting that Kyiv has lost more than 80,000 military personnel since the January, according to Russian Defense Ministry. So Ukrainian forces have lost more than 80,000 troops since the beginning of the year, Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu said on Tuesday, adding that the Russian military is continuing to reduce their enemy's combat potential. More than 14,000 pieces of different type of military hardware have also been destroyed by Russian forces since January, including 1,200 tanks and other armored combat vehicles. During the same period, Moscow has liberated some 403 square kilometers of the Russia's new territories. Shoigu told the conference call with the country's military leadership. So quite impressive numbers, 80,000 troops being neutralized by Russian forces since the January, Kyiv regime forces since January, which is basically can be said that is the entire army. And thousands of pieces of military equipment, including, of course, Western-made infantry fighting vehicles, armored personnel carriers, tanks, and so on. Yesterday, on my Telegram, I shared yet another video of destruction of 7th or 8th M1A1 Abrams tank, for example. A Russian FPV drone took out that tank, and I mean, FPV drone costs how much? Like few $100 maximum, and Abrams tank, even in first iteration of Abrams tanks, which is M1A1, it will cost still at least a couple of million of the US dollars. And this cheap $100 drone took out that multi-million-dollar hardware. Quite impressive, I would say, and definitely this conflict will change warfare forever because of this intense use of drones. And I believe after this conflict will end, all the countries worldwide, all the military industrial complexes will pay huge attention on a drone development topic, and of course on the direction of electronic warfare developments. Russia is leading, one of the leading countries in this regards, and already portal electronic warfare systems have been tested that individual fighters can have with them to protect themselves from FPV drones, to suppress enemy FPV drones in the area, or any other type of drones for that matter. So definitely military scientists will study this conflict for sure in much detailed, and the strategies and tactics of the armies worldwide will definitely adapt to this new type of warfare that is not going nowhere, I guess. RIA Novosti is reporting that according to Russian Defense Ministry, by the way, and this is very interesting and important news, since the beginning of this year, more than 100,000 Russian citizens signed a contract with Russian Defense Ministry to participate in a special military operation. Basically, on daily basis, 15 to 2,000 or 1,500 or 2,000 individuals are signing contract with the Defense Ministry, which is a huge number, by the way. Huge number, of course. I remind you that in 2023, some 300, more than 300, by the way, 300 citizens of Russian Federation signed a contract with Defense Ministry, up to 400,000 even. And it seems like numbers will be the same, of course, or even higher this year. And if it continues this way, well, then there will be no need, really, for Russian Defense Ministry to conduct any mobilization, because I guess there are too many volunteers that are willing to sign a contract with the armed forces. And in that case, why should Moscow think about mobilization? It's not really necessary, seems like. And dear friends, during one of the previous live streams, one of the members of our community asked me about this topic exactly: how many people are signing contracts with armed forces, and well, we have official numbers now. It's since the beginning of this year, more than 100,000 citizens already signed the contract with the army. RIA Novosti is reporting that, well, I already said that Russian armed forces are about 400-500 meters away from Chisov Yar as a result of further successful local-scale offensive operations, and RIA Novosti is basically confirming this information based on statements of Viktor Vodolatsky, MP of the State Duma or Russian Parliament. Let's continue. And the Vzгляд newspaper, by the way, is reporting that Ukraine's so-called president, and Zelensky is definitely so-called at this point because he is illegitimate. On 31st of March, there should be presidential elections in Ukraine, but there was none. And therefore, Zelensky definitely is illegal by all means, no matter how many times he will try to prolong this martial law. And many people inside Ukraine are now calling Zelensky as questioning Zelensky's legitimacy. But in any case, because Zelensky is acting as a president, he signed a decree, and from now on, Kyiv regime will be able to mobilize even 25-year-old people. Until now, limit was 27, and from 27 and higher, people could be mobilized. But now, after Zelensky's decree, 25-year-old, 26-year-olds citizens of Ukraine will also become subjects to forceful mobilization. And dear friends, I remind you that according to Ukrainian sources, in Ukraine's Rada, by the way, in Russia, parliament is a Duma. In Ukraine, parliament called Rada. So in Ukraine's Rada, there is a draft bill according to which mobilization citizens of Ukraine should be mobilized after 18 years. So if that draft bill will be adopted, then, well, I guess almost everybody in Ukraine will become subject to forceful mobilization from 18 years and higher. Let's continue. Vzгляд newspaper is also reporting that, well, NATO member states, or NATO leadership at least, is preparing new new program to finance Kyiv regime for $100 billion, according to Financial Times. And this new initiative is coming from Jens Stoltenberg, current head of General Secretary of the NATO. And well, interesting. It seems like at least some groups in the West, among Western ruling elites, are unable to cope with the reality on the ground, and they still are trying to push this narrative that they can defeat Russia on the battlefield. They can force Russia to conditions that Western ruling elites want Russia to agree upon, which is not happening, by the way, But this information once again demonstrates how delusional these so-called elites in the Western world really are. And by the way, I don't think all NATO member states will agree with this initiative of Stoltenberg, because almost every single state in the Western world is experiencing significant economical, financial difficulties, and an additional $100 billion, it's gonna be some significant bargain for on European economy to spare for Kyiv regime, most corrupt regime in the world. Anyway, let's see how things develop. I remind you, dear friends, that yesterday House Speaker Mike Johnson made a statement that when congressmen will go back to work, which will happen on 9th of April, they will most likely vote for Biden's aid package for Ukraine for $61 billion US. Although Mike Johnson is promising some innovations in that regards, which means that maybe this 61 billion will be given to Kyiv regime as a kind of loan not as a grant, but kind of loan, which definitely makes not really big difference, because everybody understands that Kyiv regime or modern Ukraine would not pay back anything to anyone. It's obvious. And of course we all know that from that 61 billion, vast amounts, some at least 35 to 40 billion, if not more, will eventually end up on bank accounts of US military industrial complex and corrupt US officials. Let's continue. And dear friends, if you remember, I was saying from very beginning that most likely US military industrial complex will use its influence to make sure that this most likely last big paycheck will go from Ukrainian crisis, will go to on their bank accounts, and it is the case undoubtedly. Most likely in upcoming weeks, US House Republicans will finally vote to allocate this 61 billion for Kyiv regime. It don't really makes any difference. It will call a loan or it will be a grant. Anyway, let's continue. Vzglyad newspaper is reporting that according to Times, Ukraine's secret services are actively working to destabilize situation in Russia and provoke internal hatred towards foreigners, towards migrants, migrant workers, and so on. Not really surprising information, and Russian high-ranking officials, of course, know what is going on, and therefore Russian president, a number of other high-ranking officials, time after time, are stating that in no circumstances, society should allow itself to succumb to some hatred towards anybody, and society should pay a huge attention to topic of unity, because it's enemies of Russia. It's enemies of Russia and Russian people that want to destabilize situation inside the country and provoke some confrontation between different ethnic groups or religious groups or political groups, if you want to, which is totally unacceptable, and society should be careful, because after all, against Russia, entire West, collective West, is waging war against Russia, and we should all realize how difficult times now are, really. And by the way, TASS news agency is reporting that, former Russian president and current deputy chairman of the Security Council, Dmitry Medvedev, called Ukraine a terrorist state. He commented on this topic and said that he's asked quite a number of times if Ukraine should be designated as a terrorist state. Topic is definitely relevant because Ukraine is acting, modern Ukraine is acting as a terrorist state, which is so obvious, by the way, that I don't think anybody with good enough knowledge and information has any doubts about it. But yet again, one thing is to call Ukraine a terrorist state in a commentary on some social platforms, and other is to officially designate Ukraine as a terrorist state. Let's see if Moscow will take that step. I think SBU, Ukraine's secret service, may be designated as a terrorist organization. Some individuals in Ukraine, leaders of secret services or some other state institutions, may be designated as terrorists and extremists, and it is the case in several instances. For example, head of Ukraine's main intelligence directorate of Defense Ministry of Ukraine, Kirill Budanov, already designated as a terrorist by Russian law enforcement agencies. But when it comes to designating Ukraine itself as a terrorist state, even though we all understand that that's exactly how this modern failed state under the name of Ukraine acting, I think Moscow will take some time to do so. because after all, at some point, Kyiv regime will have to sign capitulation. And if you are designating them as a terrorist, then you cannot have a negotiation with them. And therefore, I think from this for this reason, maybe Russian leadership will refuse to designate Ukraine as a terrorist state officially. But yet again, this is my take on the situation. I don't know. Maybe I'm mistaken, but I think Moscow definitely has in mind that at some point, someone who will represent Kyiv regime have to sign capitulation, and will sign capitulation, and that someone cannot be designated as a terrorist. So therefore, some individuals probably will be designated and already are designated as terrorists. Some state institutions in Ukraine, like SBU, may be designated as a terrorist organization, but I don't think Moscow will go any further than that. But yet again, let's see. And dear friends, before I continue, let me notice, if I may, that this small media project of mine with several channels, several programs, is fully subscriber funded. And if you find my work interesting, if you find my channels interesting and useful, ones that are deserve to exist in this field of news and political commentary, please consider to support my work with small donations through PayPal, Boosty. This is Boosty, by the way. Of course, everyone knows PayPal, a worldwide known platform, but this is Boosty, lesser known platform in the Western world, for example, but the most popular platform among Russian creators. And yes, you can use this platform if you want to support my work. And of course, you can subscribe to my Patreon page, on which I have some extra content on regular basis, second news updates. Time to time, I'm uploading some photos that I make, some extra videos, some extra programs, for example, Streets of Moscow, apolitical content, and I have some ideas to make Patreon even more interesting. So, well, if you're considering to support my work, as I said, you can do it via PayPal, Boosty, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. All the links are under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. And of course, many thanks to all the members of our community who already supported and continues to support my work. Thank you very much. Let's continue with additional news. And RIA Novosti is reporting that Chinese and US leaders had a phone call yesterday, I believe, and they exchange opinions on many different topics, although, according to RIA Novosti, Xi Jinping highlighted during this conversation that Taiwan is a red line for China, and the US should reconsider its involvement, its negative role in relationships between mainland China and this Chinese province, Taiwan, which is China, by the way. It's a part of China. There is no independent state as Taiwan. It's a part of China. It always was, and even US recognizes. So red line was, or warning was issued that Taiwan is a red line. But of course, deep state in US and these warmongers know perfectly well that Taiwan is a red line for China, and that's why they are provoking confrontation between this region of China and the mainland China. And I'm afraid eventually, at some point, they might be able to provoke confrontation between the two, which will be devastating for entire world, by the way, potentially. But anyway, let's continue. RT is reporting that 7.2 magnitude earthquake strike Taiwan Unfortunately, and this was the strongest earthquake in last 25 years. Unfortunately, there was casualties as a result of this earthquake. Several people were killed. Dozens of people were injured. Although I did not see on media outlets information about some large-scale destruction of the infrastructure in Taiwan. Although unfortunately some buildings were damaged and almost collapsed, like you can see on this picture, by the way. Let's continue. RT is reporting that North Korea fires a new type of ballistic missile, according to Seoul, capital of South Korea. So North Korea on Tuesday test fired what is presumed to be new solid fuel rocket. Official in Seoul have claimed. Pyongyang has made, in English it's Pyongyang, in Russian we say Prinyan, and I guess in Korean it's also Prinyan. It sounds like that, but anyway, in English it's Pyongyang. So Pyongyang has made no immediate comment on the reported launch. And by the way, I share this information on my Telegram channel also, and as you can see, this missile definitely looks like it used to deliver some hypersonic glider, and well, this missile system resembles, in my personal opinion, with Chinese hypersonic missile system, which also used to deliver hypersonic gliders towards targets. So maybe North Korean engineers successfully copied some Chinese missile system. It is quite possible. This is the launch, by the way. So surprisingly, North Korea is doing quite successful steps in development of missile technologies and even hypersonic technologies. And according to information that I see, this weapon system is a medium range hypersonic system. And by the way, RT is also reporting that AUKUS presents nuclear waste risk to Australia, according to Guardian. So Australia is no longer off becoming a poison portal for international radioactive waste under the Freeway AUKUS Pact, the Guardian reported on Monday, citing parliamentary inquiry. AUKUS was established in 2021 between the US, UK and Australia, in part to facilitate the transfer of military technology among the three allies, with their American military pledging to help Canberra obtain nuclear-powered submarines. I remind you, dear friends, that Australia had a contract with France earlier, and that contract was for some 30 or 50 billion euros, something like that, and France should deliver to Australia modern diesel electric submarines. But then US and UK get involved, and basically they force Canberra to dismiss that agreement with France and sign a new agreement with US to receive nuclear-powered submarines. And well, France was upset, of course, because well, they lost not just money, but potentially they lost some workplaces in their military-industrial complex. There was even scandal between the diplomatic row between leadership of France, United Kingdom and United States. But whatever the case, French leadership were unable to do anything really. And the US should deliver now nuclear submarines to Australia, and I guess they will use this agreement now to use Australia's soil as a wasteland for nuclear used nuclear fuel from US submarines or British submarines. Also, let's see how will things develop, but I don't think Australian citizens gonna be happy with this development. I don't think government of Australia will ask their own citizens' opinion on this, but people definitely will not be happy with it, that's for sure. And RT is reporting, by the way, that President of Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin, orders crackdown on illegal immigration. Russian President Vladimir Putin has instructed the country's country's law enforcement agencies to crack down on illegal immigration and organized crime. He issued the order during the meeting with the senior officials from the Interior Ministry on Tuesday, when he said that unauthorized migration often leads to extremism and criminality. I ask you to pay special attention to such priorities as ensuring public order, combating extremism, and suppressing illegal migration, as well as cooperate with the local agencies to neutralize organized crime. Putin told their officials. So yes, of course, after recent terrorist attack on Crocus City Hall, it is obvious that Russian side will take all the necessary steps to minimize risks, and well, one of the directions, not only, but one of the directions definitely will be combating illegal migration, which often has a direct connection with the crime and criminal activity. Let's continue. And TASS news agency is reporting that well, several informations about some economical developments, and according to TASS news agency, Kazakhstani Halyk Bank stopped servicing Mir card, Russian Mir card, which is quite unfortunate, I guess. And this bank, by the way, Halyk Bank, is one of the biggest bank in Kazakhstan, and possibly some other at least first tier financial institutions will follow this example, which is quite unfortunate. Main reason, of course, risks that these banks may end up under secondary sanctions from US, UK, and EU. Another example that makes it even more clear how necessary it is for BRICS member states to create as fast as possible alternative financial and banking system, alternative to the Western one, so that business worldwide will not be afraid to do its job just because some officials in the collective West may don't like them. And by the way, to continue this topic, RIA Novosti is also reporting that in Kyrgyzia, by the way, banks will also stop operate with the Russian Mir card. Very unfortunate developments. But I guess Russian, Kyrgyz, and Kazakh officials and experts will work on the topics to find some alternative ways to continue to allow businesses from free countries to continue the work. Otherwise, well, if Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan will act this way against Russia, if they will join basically anti-Russian sanctions, then Moscow will have no options but to retaliate, and I don't think any of these countries gonna like it. That's for sure. But let's hope situation will be resolved, in a better way. And that's how it's gonna be, I guess. RT is reporting, and I will end this update on this news, that Russian oil is still heading to India despite sanctions. This was reported by Bloomberg in its article. So 3 tankers right now loaded with Russian so-called grade oil have arrived in India ports despite being targeted by Western sanctions. Bloomberg reported on Monday, citing vessel tracking data. Well, interesting, by the way. This is exactly the example of what I just said, that even though first-tier financial institutions, first-tier businesses may afraid the secondary sanctions from the collective West, illegal secondary sanctions from collective West, second and third-tier companies, they don't give a damn, because this second, third, fourth-tier businesses can be created every other day. And this way, I mean, businesses in general, and they could be linked to first-tier organizations, really, first-tier businesses. And well, this way, business will find a way to continue its work. Companies from Russia, India, from the rest of the world will still cooperate, but by creating this second, third, fourth-tier businesses, if these companies will be sanctioned by the West, well, they will create another one next day and another one. So there always be some ways to avoid these illegal sanctions from the Washington, London, or Brussels. So it is what it is, man. If Western ruling elites still are believing that they are on top of the game, they are not. They already lost. Western ruling elites already lost this fight for dominance over the world, and as time goes by, they will become more and more irrelevant, no matter what they're gonna do. They already lost. World is moving towards multipolarity, and this process is unstoppable. And I believe, dear friends, that in Kazan, in this autumn, in October, I believe, when a BRICS summit will take place here in Russia, and Kazan is, of course, one of the major Russian cities, capital of Tatarstan Autonomous Republic, wonderful city, by the way. If you will visit Russia, of course, among other places, I definitely recommend to visit Tatarstan and Kazan city. You're gonna find it beautiful, wonderful. And well, I believe during that BRICS summit in Kazan, most likely we will hear some statements about creation of alternative financial and banking system, maybe even currency from the BRICS, alternative to their existing Western financial and banking system that is used by the ruling class of the West as a weapon against everybody that they don't like. But anyway, if I may, I will end this update now. Well, I was hoping that update would be like 35 minutes, but it's not always possible. But still quite short update, by the way, only 40 to 43 minutes. And hopefully you will find this video interesting and informative. And if so, please click that like button, leave some commentary just about anything, any topic. More likes and comments are helping to deal with the algorithm on both platforms, on Rumble and YouTube. And for very same, to reach wider audience, and for very same reason, if you can, please share links to my videos and my channels. And dear friends, let me also notice that unfortunately Russian internet providers are not opening Rumble page. I have to use VPN to use Rumble, which is quite unfortunate, because VPN has a low speed. Whenever you are using VPN, speed of internet is becoming very low. I'm still able to upload videos on Rumble, but unfortunately, because of this technical issue, I'm unable to make live streams on Rumble, and I apologize for that to our Rumble community. It's not my fault, dear friends. Whenever this issue will be resolved, I will resume my live streams on Rumble. Traditional Tuesday, Thursday, or Friday live streams with Telegram reports programs. And well, finally, yes, I mean, if you think this channel is interesting, useful, informative, and deserves to exist in this field of news and political commentary, please consider to support my work with small donations through PayPal, Boosty, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. You can see all the links under this video in the description box or in the pinned comment. This is it for now. Have a great day and take care.